What's up, guys? Welcome to an Age of Empires casted replay. We're going to be looking at the Ayyubids versus Order of the Dragon. A couple new civs from the DLC, the Sultan's Ascend. Pretty excited to check these out and show you guys. I'll just speed it up a little. In the red, we have myself playing as the Order of the Dragon. This is the Holy Roman Empire variant civilization. And over here, the blue player, 52, we have the Ayyubids, which is the variant civilization of the Abbasids. They have the camel riders and all that kind of good stuff. And with mine, it is elite units that are much stronger than normal units, but there is a trade-off, as we'll talk about and I'll show you guys as the game goes on. I just have it sped up a little bit at the start because so far we're just gathering resources and building the economy to age up to age 2, so I'm not gonna make you guys watch that for too long. Both players just going around, scouting around, trying to get more sheep. Looks like my opponent has found a crap load of sheep, so he's off to a good start. Now the Ayyubids, from what I know, I haven't played them myself yet, and I wasn't a big Abbasid player before, but as far as I know, with their House of Wisdom, this is how they upgrade their landmarks. He's starting to upgrade one right now through wings. Each wing has like a military wing, trade wing. Somebody that knows more about it can fill in the gaps in my knowledge in the commentary, but as far as I know, they kind of gamble and get different units or villagers and things like that, and they just, I'm not exactly sure how it works, but let me just read here. Here we go. Looks like he's constructing a trade wing with a random selection of 4 favorable exchanges of resource units. So that's pretty cool. So he's probably going to get like villagers and traders and things like that that he can choose from. Someone will have to let me know how that works a little bit more. I'll have to look into it a little bit more. I don't have a lot of experience with it, but from what I hear, it's pretty cool and pretty different from the base civilization, the Abbasids. Over here with mine, we're going in to a minework palace. This is the same landmarks as the HRE, but they have some unique upgrades and a few things that are different. I decided to go with the minework palace for the cheaper upgrades because all of my units take longer to build and are a lot stronger, but they take longer to build and they're more expensive. So I went with the minework palace, which acts as a blacksmith and gives me cheaper upgrades. So we both players just coming into age 2 at the moment, building up both of the economies and doing some scouting. Found a few more sheep. Looking around, trying to find out where my opponent is. I see his villagers in his town center here now, so I have an idea where he is. In caster mode, of course, we have a beautiful bird's eye view. We can see the entire map and both players, but when you're playing, as you guys know that do play, you're surrounded by fog of war until you have it surrounded. So it's all just black until you explore it with your scout. And you have to have units there or a tower or something like that to have permanent vision like you would around your base like this. So for me, we're starting with a stable opener. Decided to go with the stable because the horsemen, the gilded horsemen from the Order of the Dragon, they are very, very strong. They have twice the health of a regular horseman counterpart and do pretty good damage and stuff too, so I just start popping out a few horsemen. These guys can actually fight and go toe-to-toe with knights fairly well. And my opponent, he seems to be opening, he has a double archery range and a barracks opener, so we'll see what he's going for here. It might be camel rider, archers, could be archers, all the age 2 units. Also has access to spearmen, and looks like Gulam or whatever they're called, heavy melee infantry. These guys are like their version of man-at-arms. And of course they have just like the same spearmen and archers and stuff like that that everybody has. My version of all these units, they're called gilded archers or gilded horsemen. I also have my gilded man-at-arms and spearmen. They're basically twice as strong as their regular unit counterpart. But like I said, they take a long time to build. And they're expensive. 200 food, 40 wood. That's pretty expensive. And after we move into Age 2, we are just building up some farms to get ready to build up for Castle Age, start saving up, building that economy, but also putting out a few units in the Feudal Age. A lot of these civilizations are strong right off the bat in the Feudal Age, so it's always better to have a few units. Once I scouted him out, I thought he could possibly have a trade wing, and one of his options could have been to get some traders. So I immediately sent a couple horsemen up to the corner of the map where the trade post is, thinking if he has any traders, I'll cut them off and take them out here. Hurting the enemy's economy is definitely a big part of it. Sometimes you don't even fight their army; you just take out enough of their villagers and their economy that they just can't recover, and can be a very good way to win. My opponent here, going for a second town center here. He'll be able to produce more villagers to get more wood and more berries and whatever he needs, whatever he's going for. He probably needs a lot of food and wood, building archers and things like that. So he actually decides on Desert Raiders. These are ranged and melee camel riders. Let's check out the stats here. 13 sword versus melee, plus 13 versus cavalry. So these guys are anti-cavalry, very strong in melee. They have 7 bow range, not too bad of damage on the range, but they also have an aura that camels cause enemy cavalry units to deal 20% less damage. So they actually weaken cavalry. So my horsemen would actually be, this would actually be quite a good counter to my horsemen here, these camel riders. This scout here getting a little too close to my town center. We decided to run it off with a horseman here, able to take that down, so that's good. Scouts provide a lot of vision. It's really important for map control and knowing what your opponent's up to always have a scout or two out on the map. I begin to ramp up production, getting more farms. Keeping 2 on gold this whole time. It's been pretty solid, but I decided to add, I'm going to add a couple more here soon because I am going to need more gold. He brings in the first raid, attacking me, taking out, there's one villager down. He's actually got quite a high villager lead on me, taking out a couple villagers. I'm going to have to deal with this. I send in some archers. The combination of a couple archers and a couple horsemen, we should be able to chase him off here a little bit. Try to protect these villagers, but remember these camels are putting a 20% damage debuff on my horsemen right now, so but with the backup of the archers they should do pretty good. They have a lot of life still, so they may be doing less damage, but they are still really tanky. Like these camels have, this is a camel and it has 120 life. This is my light horsemen. They have 250 health, so that's how much stronger they are. Really important to try not to lose units, especially early, because they're very expensive and they take a long time to make. I know I've said that a lot of times, but that is the theme of this civilization. But I do really like the units. I do really like playing as these so far. They're definitely my favorite variant so far. I was an HRE main before this, so these guys were kind of the natural first choice for me to try, but we'll definitely be trying more civilizations. Meanwhile, on the blue side, my opponent starts ramping up, building more military buildings. Looks like good. Another 4 barracks go down, so he's up to 6 barracks and an archery range. A couple archery ranges, I should say. So he's looking to back these camels up with something. I'd say some man-at-arms or some spearmen at the very least. Right now, though, I am ahead on the army value, and he is ahead by about 10 or 11 on villagers, but that's okay, because my villagers, they actually carry 40% more and work 20% faster when they're building, that is. Yeah, villagers carry 40% more resources, so having a little less is more with these guys, think of it that way. So, but especially that I'm ahead on army value, that's not... If we were to fight right now, our armies head-to-head, we would absolutely destroy him, because usually we could have about half his army and consider that about even, because that's how strong these units are compared to their regular versions. Gilded archers, if you're going to play Order of the Dragon, you basically have to build gilded archers, especially in the feudal age. These guys are great. They attack really fast, 1 DPS per second. They're good versus other spearmen and stuff. So with my horsemen opening, having some archers to back them up was kind of essential because they can shoot the camels. They do good damage against the camels, and they can shoot against spearmen that would counter my horsemen. So good to have lots of archers, especially in the feudal age. Now I am still in the feudal age, in the second age. He is now in the third age. So good for him that he, you know, that's kind of like what I like to do too. You want to attack a little bit, keep your opponent busy, and then go into an age up afterwards. So then you can build up your economy some more. He's getting more villagers. He's still got 50, maintaining almost a 20 villager lead on me right now. This guy's just spamming out villagers, and I think some of it has to do with his House of Wisdom. I know he gets certain things out of this higher villager. Yeah, 125 gold for 2 villagers. I know he can like trade these units in and get the types he wants, either fighters or traders or villagers. So definitely seems like a cool landmark. I'll have to look into it and play a game with these guys myself. So after my opponent attacks, I build up a decent little army. I start heading in over to his base to see what we can do, just to kind of see what he has and stuff, sending in some spearmen and archers while we build up our economy back home to get ready to age up. Now these spearmen aren't going to do very good against these Gulam. These are heavily armored, but with the amount of spearmen I have and the archers, they're actually doing pretty good work to them. Desert Raiders shooting in the background, getting some good damage, taking out a few of my spears. Archers are here supporting. They have a shitload of camels here, so this is going to be hard to burst through with what I have, my little probing attack. But I did manage to sneak a few horsemen in through the top up here while I attacked in the front, kind of attacked from 2 directions, and they're just here to do some economic damage. I might have got a couple villagers. It was a bit of a throwaway, and I kind of lost my army there, so I just back up my archers and stuff that survived and kind of get ready to regroup here. Did a little poke though, got a good scout in, was able to see his base and everything to see what he was up to. So back at home, again, making more and more farms. We need that food, we need that gold coming in, getting all my upgrades, my economic upgrades, gold, food, and wood. Starting to get on some stone here as well. 3 barracks, 1 archery range, and the minework palace so far. But I am definitely getting close to an age up. I need 1,200 food, so I'm just getting ready to do that for my age 3 landmark. Meanwhile, it looks like my opponent might be gearing up for a little bit of flanking, might try to come in and get some damage done on some of my villagers. I myself now am setting up a second town center. Slow and steady with these guys, I find, goes pretty good because there's no point in rushing to age up or get another town center real quick if you can't defend it or you don't have the economy to build any units to defend it. So we're just kind of going slow and steady, staying nice and tight here. Playing fairly safe and just doing a few probing attacks. Definitely don't want to lose any more units if I can help it, just because they're so expensive and so valuable. He's starting to move into crossbowmen, which aren't going to be too bad for me right now. I don't have anything heavily armored except a few man-at-arms, which these man-at-arms are very strong and armored, but I also mixed in some spearmen and some bows. So second town center up and running, getting on this deer camp and getting some more gold. Let's take a look at both of the economies here. Army's pretty even, but I actually have a few more, so my army would definitely be worth more than his overall, but it just depends on how they're used as well. Mine are spearmen and bowmen. He has crossbowmen, camels, and man-at-arms, so this army's building up to be no joke. Scout gets a little too close, aggroes all these camel riders. He'll run away, trying to survive their shots. I'm not sure if he makes it or not. Villagers continuing to pump out to get onto this food and get onto this gold. Food and gold is really what I need now. I've moved into a infantry and archery based army at the moment. My scout continues to run. He can't quite make it, but the camel riders, after killing my scout, decide to continue to swoop in. Probably going to try to get some economic damage done to me while he builds up his ground army back here. Starting to look pretty serious here. This is a lot of armor. Ayyubids here, they can, without building a siege workshop, their infantry can actually build siege weapons. So that's a pretty sweet civilization ability that they have there. Space looking pretty good. He's starting to get more farms himself. Building up his economy, chopping down some wood. Looks like he's getting a couple blacksmiths down to start getting some of his infantry upgrades as well. Just going to take a look at some of mine. One of the unique abilities we had for my early gilded man-at-arms was, I already upgraded it here, but when man-at-arms fall below 20% HP, I believe they either take 20% less damage or something like that. It helps them survive a little longer, so a good ability for just staying in the fight a little longer at the end with an already quite tough unit. Other upgrades are pretty similar. Besides Spearmen, they have a Dragonfire AoE torch ability for torching down buildings. I haven't tried it yet, but I think it's supposed to be pretty good. All the other standard upgrades at a cheaper cost, but we also have Zornhau for Landsknecht. This will put a bleed on their attacks, which is pretty damn cool. And for crossbowmen, gilded crossbowmen deal 10 plus damage against siege units. If the enemy had a lot of siege, your crossbowmen would be a good way to deal with armor and siege units. And I'm sure we start adding in a few of those here eventually. Now both of us starting to build up a pretty good force. He decides he's building a couple mangonels. These are good anti-infantry crowd control. They have a big AoE splash for fighting against infantry. I have a few spearmen, man-at-arms, and bows just kind of chilling out by this town center. It's kind of out here on its own, so needs a little bit of extra protection. And a few other units just waiting around, building up for whatever attack he might do next. As you can see on this map, it's pretty sparse for wood. I do need a lot of wood. And I had to spread out some units and take some risks and just kind of throw them out here, hoping my enemy would not find it. And so far, it's been paying off. Now that I'm age 3, I have my Burgrave Palace. This here makes units for a cheaper cost. Infantry units can make them cheaper and faster here. So it's basically like a barracks that builds units, 30% faster and 30% cheaper. So very good for a civilization like that has expensive units and they build really slow. So it's kind of the go-to. The cheap upgrades with the blacksmith and the fast and the cheap units with the Burgrave Palace. Seems like a no-brainer with these guys so far. And starting to get a pretty good force built up here, actually. Now, things starting to pick up a little bit as armies are getting built up. He's starting to move out, doing some scouting with his camels. I have to be careful. Hopefully he doesn't find my villagers here, hiding in the trees, trying to get a little extra wood. He catches one villager on its way out, so that will probably tip him off to something going on. I stop here, see him coming. Had a couple villagers queued up to go that way. I just turned them back and start moving my army up to defend against all these camels. Gonna be hard to catch though. He has a lot of mobility. He's got a lot of mobility. I have a foot-based army here. This army could definitely deal with this, but it also has to try to catch it, so that is the kicker. He can just kind of shoot and kite away while those guys chase around, trying to defend some of this stuff. He doesn't end up, we build a tower just in case he does make his way up here, but I don't think he ever does, and we continue to cut wood. In the background, he continues to beef up his main army. He's got quite a big infantry army, Gulams backed up by crossbowmen and mangonels. That'll be a pretty tough nut to crack whenever we have to do that. We're just going to speed up a tiny bit. Still macroing. My opponent getting into some stone now, killing one of my horsemen as he moves his units across the map. Finally, his camels come in, sweeping around the south of my base, making me garrison a bunch of my infantry down here, or my villagers, sorry, stopping production on that town center for now, but not too much damage, picking off villagers here and there. He decides to get into the meat. I call all my villagers back, garrisoning them for safety, and send in all my spearmen and my infantry and archers on these camels. They're taking quite a bit of beating coming through. That's a pretty brazen assault coming through the, coming by my town center like that while it's fully garrisoned with villagers. It's going to shoot a lot of arrows. So these spearmen, they start chasing. Spearmen are going to do very well into camels. They're like cavalry, and spearmen are a hard counter to any cavalry. In the front of my base, he's finally assaults with his men-at-arms and crossbowmen and 2 mangonels. Ooh, almost killing two gilded. See, these archers, these are regular archers. These would be dead from that for sure. But since they have more life, they survive. But in the front, he definitely starts pushing in pretty hard with these mangonels. In the back line, all my spears and men-at-arms and archers, they cleaned up these camels back here. But in the front, he's starting to kill some of my farms and barracks. So once the camels were cleared up, we push up with the rest of my units. A mix of a couple crossbow down here and archers. Getting a nice push back on him. I have quite a strong military count right now, and with what he's got here and how tough and how much life these guys have, he is not going to be able to push through with what he has. Was a good little push though. He did destroy a few farms and one of my barracks, but we're able to hold. Taking care of his mobility was the main thing back here. Catching those camels was really huge. Then I could focus all of my army back on his frontal attack here. So very good attack. Now we have completely wiped out his army. He's down to 2 units at the moment compared to my 68. So we're just going to boogie on over there and do a counterattack. Always important, if you can, if you hold like that and they don't break through and you destroy their army, I almost always 100% of the time counterattack with whatever I have left, because you know he's going to be weak and have not much left to fight you with. But he is starting to expand out of his base. I did not scout all this. He killed my scout, and I didn't make another one all the way. But basically doing the same thing I'm doing, scouting out, pushing out for resources. On this particular map, they're pretty scattered. Now my unit's fine. He's able to pump out a few units to try and hold here, but I don't think it's going to be enough, not with what I have here and the quality of these units. If you ever played StarCraft, think of it as like Protoss versus Zerglings. Protoss are slow, but very strong and usually fewer units. We have a similar thing here, so once they get ahead of you, it is very hard to catch back up, as long as they don't make any big mistakes. So at this point, we just keep getting our guys back on food, and we're going to start pumping out units here quite soon. Once we recover a little bit from his attack and rebuild a few things. But these guys up here are actually doing really good work, getting them a little deeper in, sending in some spearmen and man-at-arms deep into his base to get some of this economy, start hitting some of these villagers and stuff, stopping his food production, which we're doing a pretty good job. He still has pretty high food production at the moment, actually. Still has a few things around, but that'll start to drop off as we get in and kill more and more villagers. Getting as deep as we can, splitting up both of my units so it's a little harder for him to deal with, putting these guys way in the back. Dervish, so this must be his religious monk type unit that can pick up relics and whatnot. And at this point we just set the rally point to just in front of my opponent's base, so any units made now that I'm getting queued up are just going to keep coming and coming, so we're just going to keep sending in little hit squads to disrupt and kill any villagers that we come across. Oh, another unique upgrade of the Order of the Dragon is there. Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of a different upgrade on the Japanese that I played. They have a +1 bonus to all melee infantry. Oh, sneaky boy. Trying to take his relic to convert my units here. If I stay in that until it's complete, then he will convert any enemy units inside into his own units, which could have been bad and stopped it, but at that point, after killing his religious unit and almost all of his villagers and his army, he decides to throw in the towel. So that was pretty fun. Still very new to both of these civilizations, so definitely have a lot more to learn, but that was just kind of a first night, couple games in try, and wanted to show you guys the few of the units there and a little bit of explanation on what they all do.